What is going on, my Ghost Squad and the CloverTac crew? Welcome to the Ghost and Clover Podcast. This is episode number 3. If you're out there watching live, go ahead and say something out there in the chat. If you don't, we don't know that you're out there. If you're listening to this in podcast form or watching this in replay, the conversation does not have to stop here. Utilize that comment section below. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Let us know if there's any topics that you think that might be interesting. As you guys know, this podcast is a little bit different. It is going to be kind of all over the place, if you will. We like to have some different cool topics we both bring. Neither one of us know what the other person's topic is going to be. And then the final segment is going to be a viewer-driven topic. We'll do a randomized drawing, and whoever wins the topic out there gets to pick it. So all you had to do to be eligible to pick that topic is to comment in the live chat. You don't have to put a specific hashtag or anything. Just comment out there, and you are automatically going to be part of it. This podcast is obviously powered by our good friends over at EAA, or European American Armory, if you will. You guys know them for their great firearms, including the big brand is Girsan, and we all know what Girsan is. You have the great Regard, which is the bred of 92, and they have great 1911s. They've got the new 2311 that came out. They've got the new the Witness, so they call it 2311 Witness. They've got a new one that was just announced that Clover and I got to see a little sneak peek at SHOT Show, but it's going to be out there now. It's the MC14T. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check out eaacorp.com. We are going to bring in Clover. What's up, homie? Thanks for messing with my technical difficulties. I had Chrome crash. I had never had Chrome crash before in my life, so I'm running on Firefox, and it seems to be working okay. Let me know if you guys hear me okay. And but yeah, what's going on, brother?
Man, not a lot, man. Dodging storms today, so
I understand. My daughter was man, she got lucky. Her condo and the condo next to her were the only two in her little neighborhood community thing that did not get damaged Friday in the big tornado that came through Little Rock, and kind of a scary moment for us all and all of that. But yeah, I know that you guys, your location is not like my location where a lot of big storms come through. But here for me, you know, we've got mountains in the big lake here. So most of the big stuff that hit the mountains in the lake, they kind of break up. And I know that you kind of have some terrain and geographical stuff that help that as well.
Yeah, there's I don't want to call it a mountain, but there's a definite elevation change east of a river. And I think with the river bottom and that elevation change, I think is what does it here. But yeah, there was a tornado on the ground, literally headed this way for 2 hours or something, you know, and 5 minutes before it gets here, it's like, yeah, it's all tore apart and screwed up, and the skies are almost clear now. It's crazy how that happens, but yeah, weather patterns. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, now G-Web's out there says they just call it the Glover Podcast. They would save a lot of time. That's fair. That's fair. Was the old Benifer thing they combined like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez and all that. The Benifer, the Glover Podcast. You know, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now G says that Clover's worried since he hid all those pots of gold underneath bridges. It's a lot better than hide them in barns. I'm just saying that maybe that's a little too soon, Clover, but you know,
wouldn't hurt it. It would just smelted it real good. It'd been okay.
Yeah. So for you guys out there that don't know, you're new to this podcast, new to all that, this is a different format that we're going to use, and what we use is a 10 to 15 minute segment of each of us get a 10 to 15 minute segment of whatever topic we want to talk about. There are no rules to the topic except for stuff that might, you know, get us kicked off YouTube. So there are certain topics, I guess, Clover, we don't talk about, but we each bring 10 or 15 minutes, and we do not know what the other is going to talk about until it is brought up. And like I said, the third segment is going to be viewer driven. So, I think it's your turn to start with the first topic this week, is it not?
It is. Yeah. You spoiler alerted it a little bit, but you know, when you have a sponsor like EAA, it's bound to happen. But I was like, we got to see that MC14T. It shot. Couldn't tell anybody about it. I don't say anything, and then it gets leaked. Thanks a lot, Omar. By the way.
Yeah,
But
thanks, Omar. Appreciate you, buddy.
It gets leaked, and so the good thing is now we can talk about it, and so I want to talk about it because that freaking thing is awesome. And so
yeah, go for it.
For those that don't know what it is, imagine, if you will, almost like a Beretta 92 that is the size of a cheetah.
Yep.
That has a tip-up barrel.
And can you explain what a tip-up barrel is? Because there might be some people that are kind of freaked out and like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. So let me back up because that's actually inaccurate. It's more like an old school Beretta. So it would be more like a Taurus PT92 because of the frame mounted safety and some of the controls. It'd be more like a Taurus PT92, a cross between that and a Beretta Cheetah with a tip-up barrel. Tip-up barrel is you hit a button and the barrel literally tips up. And what's that means is your first round, you do not have to rack the slide.
Yep.
You're talking about single action, double action, obviously. So, you hit the button, put a round in the barrel, and then of course your magazine is going to be full. And so when you pull the trigger, it goes bang. The bang cycles the action, and you're off to the races. So, great for a variety of uses. Like even if you don't need it for the, if you're dexterity challenged, is that a phrase? I'm going to go with it either way.
Hey, it sounds great. Go for it.
Even if you're not dexterity challenged, who cares? I mean, it's probably not a function you need. You probably don't need the tip-up barrel, but considering you've got 13 plus 1, 380 there, you've got a little larger frame. Neither one of us, even though we have been able to lay hands on the thing, and it is freaking amazing.
It is amazing.
Have not been able to pull triggers on one just yet, unfortunately. But man, but I gotta think it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to pull some triggers on it because I was surprised, and not really in a good way. I was surprised at the Beretta Cheetahs and just how much, considering the frame size, the weight, and everything else, compared to, and that's in 380, by the way, the Cheetah I'm talking about. I was surprised with the recoil on that, considering my Glock 42, smaller frame, polymer, blah, 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 blah. And that 42 is just a joy to shoot in 380. And that Beretta was a little bit to control. It was not a ton. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about it, but I'm just saying there was a definite difference, right, between the 42 and that. So, it's going to be interesting to see with the MC14T with the tip-up barrel design. Obviously, it's a little bit different with the action. There's some other things going on with it, so going to be curious to see if it's, is it similar, or does it shoot better? I mean, is the recoil smoother on it? What's all that like? Really looking forward to experiencing that.
If we know anything about EAA and Girsan, first of all, before we go into this, let's come some specs real quick. It is, like Clover said, as of right now, it's chambered in 380. There might be some other calibers coming down the line, but initially the initial release, and these should start shipping here this month sometime. That's the word that I'm getting. I'm sure Clover's get the same word. And obviously there are things that may not be in anyone's control, but the plan is this month be shipping, but it's chambered at 380.
Yeah, definitely post NRA.
Yeah, post NRA. So we're talking maybe middle to late April, start shipping. So contact your gun shops and let them talk to the distributors and see who all's got it. And there'll be a multitude when it comes out and gets released and starts shipping. There'll be some areas online, some of the online gun shops, I'm sure, as well, that you'll be able to get it. But the 380 ACP does have the tip-up barrel, which is cool. Like, it's a 13+1. But let's say, like, this is a true 13+1 because you're going to be able to load your magazine in 13 rounds. Go ahead and insert that magazine, flip up the barrel, and insert the one. So it's a true 13+1. An all steel barrel and slide, ambidextrous safety, 4.5-inch barrel. 4.5-inch barrel. So we're talking the dimensions of that cheetah. And I was kind of going before is we both know the Girsan people and obviously EAA. And the great thing about Girsan is they listen to the guys at EAA. And the EAA guys listen to a lot of consumers and people in the industry to kind of help out as well.
They also know guns, man. That's something really important.
Yeah.
This first segment going to turn into the EAA show almost, but I can't stress this enough.
It's a gun that's changing the game.
You've got importers that, they just find whatever foreign company's making whatever gun and they import that gun. And then you've got importers that have direct input. They're firearm people. They have been gunsmiths. If they're not still gunsmiths, they understand what's required to design this, that, and the other. They've got their pulse on the market. They talk to people, and all of that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Now Chase out there puts out there, anyone traveling to NRAM and wants to purchase can be the first to sign up to receive one. So that'll be awesome. There is going to be a thing there in NRAM they're going to do for it as well. But the great thing about Girsan and all of that is everything that Girsan has put out. So let's just take the Regard, for instance. The Regard took the good things of the 92 and kept them, right? But then some of the things that were questionable or maybe not well liked by the 92, they made those upgrades and made them better. So I'm going to have to assume that this gun is going to be an absolute treasure, and an amazing gun to shoot. I'm looking forward to it. I just assumed that everything that they've been doing in the last few years has just really been top level, top notch. And one of the great things about Girsan and all of that is you're going to be able to find them for an affordable price. They're not going to price themselves out of a market. They're not going to force you into doing something that feels like, I don't know if I want to spend that much money. They're always very reasonable, and they're going to get the value for the punch right there for sure. 380
MSRP. MSRP, and there's a lot of different finishes, and there's a lot of different models.
Absolutely,
does that, but starting MSRP is less than $500. That's MSRP. So
that's MSRP. Yeah. So, and obviously, like you said, there's different finishes, there's different things that can happen. But yeah, a base model that you're looking at well under $500. So when it gets to your hands, it's awesome. Plus it's cool as hell. Now I know people out there, and I'm seeing anyone out there in the chat, I'm just in general, a lot of people, they seem to I don't know why they seem to get irked sometimes about external thumb safeties, right? I have never understood why people get irked with thumb safeties. If you don't like it, don't use it. Then don't use it. Right. Now people, I don't want my thumb to mistakenly. It's not like it's a hair trigger,
right?
1 ounce, thumb safety. You've got to want to put that on safety. And if you have problems with your thumbs putting the safety on your guns, you might want to look at how you're gripping a gun. That's me. I've never had a problem with that. Now I also have little bitty hands. So there's that.
Well, and you've got people that complain about, they'll complain about the CZ decocker safety. They'll complain about the Beretta, right? They'll complain about anything that's high up on the slide rather than right there at the grip, like a 1911 or like this Girsan MC14T is. I know people that will in one breath, they will complain about that being on the slide. And then in the same breath, they will express their discomfort or whatever with the frame mounted safety right there at your thumb, the thumb safety.
Right.
And exactly what you're saying. Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to flip that or do this. Well, Okay, then go with the slide mount is stupid. Well, obviously it's not stupid because you're saying you don't like the other method. So
Yeah.
there's a reason that exists, and that's the reason that exists is for people that don't like that. So
Yeah.
and we all have our preferences, and there's no right or wrong answer to it. Like,
No, no, no.
there's a reason that Girsan can do what we're talking about with everything they've done lately, especially including this MC14T that we're talking about right now.
Yep.
Is because everybody's got a different taste. Everybody likes different things. Everybody like you might as well just succumb to the end of the Second Amendment and gun control if you think everybody needs to carry a single stack 1911 and 45 ACP, and that's the only firearm that needs to be out there, right? Or the
Right.
Mossberg 500 pump shotgun and a 28-inch barrel, and that's all that needs to be out there. If you're going to project all of your opinions and likes and dislikes onto everybody else, then what are we even doing, right?
Right. Right.
And I look at things much deeper. I know that there are people that they see something and they go, "Oh, that's ugly. That's pointless. I don't see a point in that." Blah 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 blah. And like, I look deeper than that. A lot of people only look at the surface, and they don't think that there are people that walk many different lifestyles in many different shoes, right?
Yep.
And like maybe I get an MC14T just because it looks cool. Maybe that's a
Exactly.
legit reason. I want it, right? Not I need it. Not I
Absolutely bought
need it.
guns because they look
Not I
cool.
need it.
And I know
Not
you
I
have.
need it. Yeah. Not I need it. And not I have a use for it. Simply I want it. We
Yep.
live in America. And simply I want it
America.
is a good enough excuse for me. If you want it, get it.
We got about 3 minutes left in this segment. I know it's your segment to drive, but I did bring up something. I want to ask a question real quick. Well, they're talking about thumb safeties versus grip safeties. Do you have a preference of which one you dislike more, grip safeties or thumb safeties?
Yeah, grip. I don't. I mean, I can take it or leave it. It's not a deal breaker for me. But
No,
for
it
me,
does
the
not for me either.
grip safety silly.
I would rather. I mean, if I'm going to have a safety, I guess I'd rather have a thumb safety than a grip safety. Just
Well, the
because
thumb
it's
safety, you've got an option with the thumb safety to either use it or not.
That's right.
And
the grip safety is there.
The grip safety is there, and every time you're gripping, it's engaging and disengaging. And so, what happens if it breaks? What happens if you know what I mean? Like something goes wrong there.
Yeah.
Because it's passive like that. So and what are the odds that happens? I don't hear about grip safeties causing problems. Very rarely have I heard an issue with anything like that.
I've never
But it
heard
can
of
happen.
one. Yeah,
well, it can, and anything
no,
can happen.
I'm just saying,
right?
I've never heard of it, nor have I obviously I've never had a problem with a grip safety. The one thing about the grip safety, I guess, is the pro is it maybe forces you to get a really good high grip and tight grip on your gun, which is always good mechanics to begin with. I don't know.
Harder to limp wrist, yeah, for sure.
For sure, yeah. But yeah, safeties have never been, for me, safeties have never been a criteria that are make or break a gun for me. I don't mind thumb safeties or what. I don't mind I don't mind safeties on a firearm. If I want that firearm bad enough, and it's got a grip safety, I'll be okay. If it has a thumb safety and I don't want to use it, guess what? I don't use it. For sure.
Now, Tim out there is asking what's the difference between that MC14T and the 86. Not a whole lot at this point. I mean, I can't tell you a whole lot, Tim.
Chase said double stack, so I'm assuming with the 13 plus 1, the double stack, I guess, is the biggest difference from what Chase is saying.
Yeah, very similar to that.
By the way, Chase works for EAA, so he would absolutely know.
Yeah. The 86 is tip up barrel. The frame mounted style safety. A little bit different than my 84 Cheetah, but yeah.
Yeah, the
price probably.
well, I guarantee the price. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're also talking about the 86 was a single stack. I want to say 8 or 9 plus 1 at maximum. It might have been even 7 plus 1, but I think it was like a 8, maybe a 9 plus 1 was the 86. Might be wrong about that. But it definitely was a single stack. I think it was like a 9 plus 1. This is obviously a 13 plus 1, so you're going to have obviously a little more there. So yeah. All right. I want to say time is up on this segment. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is normally where we talk about EAA, but we've been talking about EAA.
It's been a 21-minute EAA commercial.
Well, I'm going to say, if Chase is out there anyway, I'm going to say, since we've had a 20-minute EAA commercial here, like, what's the point? But I will say this. I mean, I'm looking forward to, for anybody that's going to be in Indy, EAA obviously would be at Indy. So, drop by, see us, see them, check out all the cool stuff. They always have their bling bling stuff, in the booze. So they've got a lot of cool finishes. Not anything I would necessarily own with the gold plated and the, tiger striped and all the other weird stuff, but weird finishes. But they're cool to look at. They're definitely fun to look at. So yeah, come out, check out those. You mentioned the Witness 2311s. I mean, look at those, and especially the different sizes. Remember, those are all available in 9, 45, and 10. And in various sizes as well, which is pretty freaking cool. What else?
Yeah, I mean they've got, you got the Witness 2311, the MC14T. You've got the new 1911 carry options that are out there, the 10 millimeters that have just kind of come out in the last few months. A lot of cool stuff. And remember, Girsan is at this point the flagship of the EAA arsenal, but there are other brands. Even Girsan has shotguns. We're not just talking about handguns and all that. There's a lot of different products out there that EAA works with, and it's not just Girsan, although Girsan is the big one. But yeah, Tim said 380 or 9 millimeter. As of right now, it's 380. There might be other calibers. I'm not going to speak for EAA. I'm not going to speak for Girsan. But I'm sure there'll be other possible calibers coming down the line. But right now, it's the 380. Basically, the better points of the 84 and the 86, just updated and priced right. There you go.
Now, real quick before we move on, we got your topic, but G23 says question. When is this going to only be on the Ghost and Clover channel? So I don't know that you mentioned that, but
that's true.
Yeah, keep in mind that while we do go live across the Ghost Tactical channel, the CloverTac channel, and the Ghost and Clover channel, as soon as this goes off air live, the only place to catch the replay, unless by some wonderful Google voodoo or something else, you have a link to one of the other channels. The only place to pick it up will be on the Ghost and Clover channel on YouTube, or the audio podcast world from either of the podcast platforms.
And when I put out the promotions and all that, I use the link for the Ghost and Clover channel. So I don't know. Jesus, are the two channels, chat teams fighting each other. It's West Side Story, man. It's the Jets and the Sharks, man.
We don't fight on this channel. So.
No, I hear you.
So, speaking of that, I'll concede the floor, and let's go with yours.
All right. Well, so mine is it's gonna be a poll that's coming out tomorrow over on our Ghost Tactical community tab. But
those polls are sponsored by somebody, I hear.
They are, and we'll talk about that Tuesday night. We're actually going to have them on the show as well.
Nice.
So,
right.
Yes, we'll be unleashing that Tuesday night. So stay tuned for that on the Armed Citizen podcast. But yeah, so what we're going to be doing is going to be talking about it's 25 minutes exactly. So we have till the 40-minute mark or 35, however long it goes. Our topic for tonight from my side is going to be favorite 90s movies. because there was a lot of great movies in the 90s, whether it was action or dramas or and all of that. There are so many great movies that came out in the 90s. I'm going to let you, she says, my topic is crayons. We could talk about a little bit about different flavors of crayon, but we'll do that in another story. But let's kind of talk a little bit about 90s movies. And I'm not going to say pick a genre if you have multiple, like in different genres or whatever. But if you could go back, like when you think 90s movies, like what's the first one that pops in your head?
Ooh. 90s movies.
Twister, really? You could have given me 50 guesses and I never would have come up with Twister. And
really,
maybe just after this weekend, I really didn't want to bring up Twister.
This is true. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love Twister. I wouldn't have that. That's not one that comes to my head.
Definitely.
No,
definitely not Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Definitely not.
No.
No. I just wanted to get that out of my system so we never had to mention that again the rest of the show. But definitely not that. But yeah, Twister's up there. Jurassic Park is up there.
The original Jurassic Park was a great one.
I don't know that
I'm a big Jurassic Park fan, but the original is classic, man.
Yeah, I don't know that it holds up super well. You can definitely pick a lot of it apart and a lot of other things, but yeah, I mean, for the time, I mean, it was pretty epic. Pulp Fiction, Wes says.
Pulp Fiction, yeah. Now this one, Tombstone. Tombstone was great, and it's going to have a special place in my heart for a very specific reason. Obviously, I love Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday. I still think it's one of the best, his best role ever, and why he didn't win an Oscar for it is beyond me. It is what it is. I will say that the reason why Tombstone will always hold a special place for me is the very last week of boot camp in the Marine Corps. I can't speak for anybody else but the Marine Corps, especially in the early mid-90s. The last week is you're done with all your testing. You're done with everything. At this point, you're just trying to get organized, get stuff packed, trying on your uniforms. Because like some people, like we had a kid in our platoon of boot camp that lost 60 pounds in 13 weeks. So obviously they had to go in and get new uniforms for them before graduation and all of this stuff. So you're doing all of this stuff, doing a bunch of admin stuff and all of that. And so we graduate on a Friday. On Thursday, we had everything packed up and everything was ready to go, and we had to be done by a certain time, and we didn't know why. Like, why? Like, I have to be done at 6 o'clock or whatever. And so at that time, our senior drill instructor sent our other hard hats home, which hard hats are the junior drill instructors. We have a senior drill instructor and 2 junior drill instructors. He sent them home, and it was just him with us the last night, and taught, he kind of did the dad thing. I'm proud of you guys, y'all. I'm not going to call you a Marine until tomorrow when you actually, and all of that. But he was like, I'm proud of you. We started with 84 people and graduated like 30 something. So, it was one of those things. So at the end of that little speech and all of that and blah, 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 he rolls out this TV and he says, let's watch a movie. And he made popcorn for us all. And the movie we got to watch, now understand, in Marine Corps boot camp, I can't speak for anybody else, we can't have anything but water or milk or orange juice for 13 weeks. Obviously, you can't smoke, you can't talk, you can't watch TV, you can't you're shut off from the world. So we get popcorn, sodas, and we watch Tombstone the night before graduation. And it could have been the worst movie in the world, and no one would have given a damn. It was awesome. So yeah, Tombstone for me holds a special place, but for me, there are 2 movies that stick out in the 90s, one for obvious reasons and then one for a specific reason as well. When I think 90s, I think Forrest Gump, right? I just think Forrest Gump, 90s movie. That's one of those things. The second movie is kind of a story, Marine Corps story. Not trying to make this a Marine Corps thing, but it just memories of the 90s. That's kind of how I spent my 90s, right? So we were in Okinawa, Japan. We had just gotten back from going a couple of different places and all of that stuff. And there is a little one screen on base theater at the camp that I was at, and they were showing a movie that I had never heard of. We didn't obviously, we had been gone. We hadn't really heard a whole lot. Saving Private Ryan's a good one. Man, they're putting some great movies out there. They really are. Man, they're tearing it. There are a lot of great movies in the 90s for sure. Anyway, sorry. So we're getting ready to say, let's go to the theater. I'm like, I don't like what's going on. And they're like, oh, well, there's a movie coming out that I think everyone's going to like. I'm like, okay, so we went, a bunch of us went, and the movie was called Braveheart. Now, Braveheart in itself was a great movie. Imagine Braveheart in a Marine Corps theater after we had just gotten back from some places that were not the best places in the world. And there's a couple hundred Marines in this theater watching Braveheart. You can only imagine. I would imagine that they probably had to shut down that theater for the next couple of weeks to clean up and repair. Braveheart was a great movie, but imagine us being all full of testosterone and all of that. And we went absolutely berserk watching Braveheart in that theater in Camp Hansen, Okinawa. And so that to me was probably the most fun I've ever had watching a movie, but I wouldn't say it's the best. For me, when I think of the 90s, I think two movies. As far as I already said, Forrest Gump, and I think as far as the best movies, Forrest Gump, and I probably have to say Pulp Fiction, because Tarantino brought a whole new style of how to shoot a video and kind of basically said, freak the rules. I'm making my own rules for making a movie, and Pulp Fiction brought back basically the career of John Travolta. Now, Samuel L. Jackson already had a pretty good career, but that sent Samuel L. Jackson onto the stratosphere of movies. Pulp Fiction was a great one, but for me, like, it's got to mean Grumpy Old Men. It's another great one, man. Great one. For me, I think it's got to be Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump might be a top 10 movie of all time. Not because it's just my favorite movie of the 90s. I just think it's a phenomenal movie. Shawshank Redemption. Man, there's some great movies in the 90s.
Oh, forgot Shawshank. Yeah,
Shawshank is a great one. Now, remember when Tombstone came out? And Hillbilly brought it up because Wyatt Earp came out about the same time, and it was with Costner and all of that.
It did.
I was not a big fan of the Wyatt Earp movie. For me, Tombstone was much better. What do you guys think about? What do you think about Wyatt Earp versus Tombstone? Do you have a preference of the two?
Tombstone. I mean, it was okay, but Wyatt Earp was. But yeah.
Man.
Now, one that's 90s, and since we're talking Tombstone, I don't know how many people out here has actually seen that. I thought it was a pretty good movie, and I will watch it if it, if and when it does pop up every now and then. But The Saint.
Oh, The Saint was a great one. Yeah. You've got Val Kilmer and what was her name? Oh crap! The blonde from what was her name? Goodness gracious!
Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue. I was. Yeah. I didn't want to say Amy Schumer because I wouldn't disrespect
Elizabeth
her that
Shue,
bad.
the chick from she was in Cocktail too.
Cocktail and Karate Kid and
Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitter. Was she on?
Karate Kid,
yeah.
Karate Kid,
yeah. Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, she was great. The Saint. For me, who's your favorite identity that he had in The Saint? For me, it was the there at the end, the old scientist nerd guy. That was hilarious. I guess the painter was good. Now I'll tell you what, I thought it was a terrible movie. I didn't like the movie itself, but I thought Val Kilmer was amazing in The Doors. He played Jim Morrison fantastically.
Yeah.
But that was at the height of Kilmer, man. He was, I think Val Kilmer kind of got a bad rep for a lot of stuff, but he was he's dead, but he's not acting anymore, obviously. But I think he got a bad rep. I think he was a really, really, really good actor, especially back in the day.
Trevor's got one that's a great one too. The Ghost in the Darkness with Kilmer and
I don't know if I've seen that. I never even heard of that.
Michael Douglas, Kilmer and Michael Douglas, where they're the lions in Africa. That's a true story.
I've never heard of that one. I'm gonna have to go watch that.
Based on a true story. So there was some lions in Africa that were basically preying on a village. I mean, they were like literally sneaking into the villages at night and like snatching people and stuff, like and killing them just to kill them, not even just to eat them. Like they were psychotic, right?
That's crazy.
And like I said, this is based on a true story, and so
I've never even heard of this. I need to go look it up. I guess I don't
remember exactly. I don't remember the storyline exactly. It's been a while, but it's something like, I think maybe Kilmer was with like French Foreign Legion, some kind of military group, and then Michael Douglas was like the big bad safari hunter guy, right? He was the foot of the group or whatever. And so anyway, it's about them trying to take out the lions, or figure out what's going on, I guess, first of all, and then take out the lions. So they're setting up traps. It's pretty cool for sure.
Yeah. I definitely need to go through that. Now, Chase being kind of funny, but I will say, he says Mrs. Doubtfire, but Mrs. Doubtfire, man, that was epic back in the day. I mean, Robin Williams cross-dressing was pretty interesting. And I don't say anime because it was anime, but like the cartoon type movies start getting really big in the 90s as well. What was it? Lion King,
the Pixar stuff, and
but even before that was like Lion King and the Little Mermaid and all that. But Lion King holds up today. I'm a big Lion King fan. I don't care what people think.
Not the live action. That live action sucks.
You mean like the one that came out a couple years ago?
Yeah. Disney
I'm talking the original Lion King back in the 90s was amazing.
Disney needs to leave the live action alone. Like, I am not a fan of any of the live action stuff. Yeah.
White Men Can't Jump has been brought up.
Was that the 90s?
If it was early 90s. It was either late 80s or early. I think it was early 90s. It might have been like 90, 91.
Yeah.
I think it was. Toy Story, that was a good one. Absolutely, Toy Story. Falling Down. Oh man, I forgot about that one.
Was that? I never would have put Falling Down as a 90s movie. That it crossed my mind.
I don't know. It was a phenomenal movie. Let's find out. 1993 sure was. I'll be damned.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Goodfellas is 1990. Just that's on my poll tomorrow as well. Goodfellas is one of those that is great.
Now,
I'm a big Ray Liotta fan though, so I was, and I still am, but he's not with us anymore. But yeah, what's that now?
Well, speaking of Robin Williams, in a little bit different of a role, I guess, was Bicentennial Man.
Yeah,
was pretty good. Blade, Absolutely. The Blade movies came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
Demolition Man.
My favorite.
Now that we're going down the Wesley Snipes road, Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. As far as Robin Williams, and it was late 88, 89. It was not in the 90s. I think it was late 80s. My favorite movie of Robin Williams forever is Dead Poet Society. Phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
That was in the 90s, but I think that was his best job. I love his role in Good Will Hunting, kind of in that same stigma of Dead Poet, the mentor, all of that. But yeah, Dead Poet Society is a great one.
Good Will Hunting was in the 90s.
Good Will Hunting was in, like, I want to say his late 90s, but probably like 90. Well, let's find out. Good Will Hunting, 1997. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great one. Another one I just watched it again recently was Finding Forrester. I don't know if you ever saw that or not.
Oh yeah.
Great, Sean. That might have been early 2000s. I don't know. I think it was, but Heat was a good one. Yep. Tim says Heat. Yeah, it was a great one.
Oh man, was Flatliners in the 90s? Man, that was a cast, dude.
I think it was.
Flatliners was good, and I don't know if anybody has seen
1990. Yeah, 1990.
And I don't know if anybody's seen the remake or not. We actually went to the
one was about 5 years ago. Yeah. I never saw, but I heard it was terrible. But I don't know. I never saw it.
I'm a big fan of the original Flatliners. I really liked it. I think that the new one holds up. I mean, it doesn't have the cast. Don't get me wrong. Like there was an epic cast in the original. But
yeah,
the Baldwin was that Stephen Baldwin.
I get them all mixed up.
Oliver Pratt, Stephen Baldwin, Kevin Bacon, Julia Roberts.
Yeah, I don't remember which outside of Alec. I can't tell all the other Baldwins except for Alec apart. Yeah. Like I can't tell them apart. Yeah, you get Michael, Stephen, Bob, and Fred. And I don't know. There's too many.
And a lot of people may not know this, but Michael Douglas produced. He was a producer on Flatliners.
Yeah, he did actually. I actually did know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We have run up the end of this one, and you want to kind of go over. I know, right? We actually went a little bit over. But that's okay.
We're good. We got plenty.
We actually also started a little bit late, so who gives a damn? But you want to kind of go over what's going to happen with the random topic?
Yeah, I do have. I've got it up. I've been tracking the. Let's get it up here for the screen for everybody to see. Been tracking the comments. There they are, and I don't know how many is out there. It says there's 24 unique comments. So for the next minute or two now, get those comments in, because if we draw your name, you will pick the next topic. So yeah. With that being said, big thank you to Taurus for powering the viewer-driven or viewer request or viewer suggested, whatever you want to call it, topic tonight. So I'll let you run on if you want. Rip on Taurus there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone out there, if you're here because you know us from the gun world. That means you're part of the gun community. You've heard of Taurus, whether or not you own a Taurus, whether or not you ever shot one, you know who Taurus is. Got to, right? Taurus has been there for a long time, putting out great products. They've pretty much anything that your heart desires when it comes to, even with some of the companies that are under the umbrella of the Taurus brands. Anything that your heart desires in the firearm world, they're going to be able to come up with on, whether it's 1911s or the PT92 revolvers, great concealed carry guns. They've got, and you start talking about some of the other companies that are under that umbrella. They're anything that your heart could desire, they're going to have. And I know that I've got a G3 that from a couple years ago, and it really, really surprised me. It's a great shooting gun. For maybe one of the better values out there for a price and all that. And I know that you've got several the Taurus firearms and different brands that now Taurus is part of the conglomeration. But I'm a big fan of Taurus. I think that they're doing it. They're a great part of our community, bringing great quality firearms for a really good price, and they're kind of one of those affordable for everyone. And they have stepped up the game the last decade or so into not just being affordable, but getting great value for that affordability as well.
Yeah. Well, I would disagree with anything your heart desires, because
I said mostly that you're, yeah.
But, I mean, I've never been
someone that has shotguns eventually, so they probably will have shotguns under the umbrella.
So outside of what I call the copycats outside of the PT92 and the 1911 and the PT22 and some of those
revolvers. They got great revolvers.
Well, yeah, but I mean, outside of those copycat semi-auto
Oh,
handguns,
yeah, absolutely,
right?
yeah.
What I'm
Yeah,
saying,
outside the clones, yeah,
I've never been a fan of theirs, and I'm still not super impressed. Are they decent? Yeah. Can I knock them? No. But there's just other things that impress me now, or that would make my wish list a lot quicker, right?
sure.
And yeah, and the Taurus revolvers are there's multiple Taurus revolvers that make that. So what they lack for me in the semi-auto handgun, I mean, they more than make up with the revolvers and talking about their other brands. I was able to. By the way, throw the comments out there. I know Hibbley up asked, what do you need to comment? You don't need to comment anything specifically. Just comment.
I just hope gun websites does. I hope G-Webs does not win the randomizer, because this could be an interesting topic.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. We'll have to talk about whatever. But yeah, where was I going with that? I forgot where I was going. But I was having a conversation actually yesterday. Was it yesterday? About the Heritage Rough Riders, and it's like, they get a bad rap. People complain about the finish on those, and they complain about multiple various things. And I'm like, you're talking about cheap fun. I mean, again, it's kind of like at the top of the show when we were talking about, people have their different uses for firearms and their different opinions, and they like what they like and whatever. And it's like, especially if you've got land and you can go out on your land and shoot every day if you want, like, $150 max investment, whatever it is, in a Rough Rider. And I mean, good Lord, how can you complain about that?
I know a few years ago, prior to the cough, you can get them for under 100, like 89 bucks some places.
Yeah, and I'm sure Black Fridays, I've seen.
Oh yeah.
I've seen something. Was it Academy or something last year that, or maybe it was Atwood. I don't remember. But if you bought some type of a 22 rifle that they had, you got a Rough Rider for free.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was like a Black Friday deal.
Well, how many kids have their journey in firearms began with a Rough Rider over the years? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. So that done. We're gonna draw. Let's draw.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So here we go. If your name comes up, please throw the. We should have reminded people to hit the little live button on the screen to make sure it's red. But yeah, if your name comes up, Calaveras.
Oh Lord, this could get interesting.
Tactical Pickle has control of the topic, so I have not seen him comment recently.
No, he might not. He might not be.
We will give him just a minute or so, or 30 seconds or something here, and if he is out there, he can throw us a topic. If not, we will roll this again and find somebody else.
There is no telling what he would pick. Yeah, we need to avoid Chase's topics as well. There's no
kidding. No kidding.
There
he is. Oh, he says
he doesn't have a topic. Roll again. You don't have anything. Okay. All right. We're going to roll again then.
I'm not going to argue with him. We don't have the kind of time. So
this is true.
Rolling again.
True. She fires.
There you go.
Out there. She
just commented. Yeah. So She Fires. You have the board. What's our topic? Let us know what the random topic is going to be. So I'm sure she will come up. She's usually pretty good at coming up with good topics.
Oh yeah.
She does it quite a bit with the show that G-Webs and I do on Tuesday mornings, the creator stuff.
Yeah.
She usually comes up with some really good stuff. So we'll wait on her to figure her topic out. Sometimes that can be tough. So what you need to do.
She says she liked the volley to G.
So we get the elephant question.
I'm maybe let's give G the opportunity to come up with a legitimate topic.
Well, G, what's the topic, G? Lord, killing me.
Girls even come up with topics. Oh, so is that his topic?
It's the topic. Can girls come up with topics? Well, I would say by the historical data with she fires, yes, girls can absolutely come up with topics.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a topic.
Let us know, G-Webs. Let us know real quick what the topic's going to be for the next 10 minutes or so. She goes, hey, I want to take that back then. Yeah.
You could have thrown us a topic.
You could throw us a topic. But we're not going to wait too long. All right. Like to ask your opinion on compensators. We'll just go with that one then.
Done.
I'll let you go first. You've actually you've got a recent gun, I believe, that's got one. Do you not?
Yeah, I've got the. This is definitely the Girsan show. I've got the Girsan MC14T 10 millimeter carry, which is the compensated version. Definitely makes a difference. I see a difference. It definitely makes a difference. I don't, I like compensators to an extent, but I'm not hardcore. Like everything has to have one.
Yeah.
For me, it kind of depends on what you're doing. So obviously, ported barrels are a thing, and that's sort of like a built-in, almost like a built-in compensator.
Sure.
And you don't add any length. The problem with the compensator is, especially if we're talking about a handgun, is adding length. So, if you're talking about, competitive use, maybe even hunting, or if we're talking about a really potent as far as recoil and stuff, cartridge, then more so than not. But I will say this: I've got a few. 2 or 3, I don't even know, compensators on 22s. And you would be surprised. You would think that, oh man, it's a 22, and 22 doesn't have any, recoil. It doesn't have any muzzle flip. That would be the correct terminology of what a compensator addresses, is muzzle flip. But you're like, oh man, it doesn't have that. And it does when you're talking, especially when you're talking about a competition setting.
Well, you're also coming to a guy that has to wear wrist braces when he shoots.
This is true. But when hundredths of an inch, thousandths of an inch make a difference,
sure,
in those competitions, then it's easy to go, oh, you don't need a compensator. Again, we go back to shelve or whatever, table your opinions and your preferences enough to realize that other people have them as well. And the folks that you don't need that. It was like, well, I would contend that let's use the same firearm, let's shoot a competition side by side, and let's let the groups and the scoring determine whether or not I need that. And I think for a lot of people, if they put themselves into that situation with a comp, they would see that, oh, okay, it does make a difference, regardless of the caliber or anything, right? But that's kind of where I go with it.
For me, you kind of went more some handgun stuff. I'm gonna go with rifle stuff, and I'm gonna say muzzle brake, because a muzzle brake and a recoil compensator, kind of the same thing. So I'll say this, for rifles, especially for competition, kind of where you were going in, for the long range stuff, a compensator or muzzle brake is really almost necessary. It's either you're running a brake or you're running a suppressor. I prefer personally a brake / compensator. The biggest thing, and the reason why, and Clover is talking about the same thing, but you're talking about managing the recoil, and the recoil itself isn't necessarily what you're worried about. What you're worried about, especially in competition, is follow-up shots and being able to keep that muzzle on target, whether you're following the trajectory of that projectile through your glass, tracking whatever, or you've got to do a quick follow-up shot. Being able to keep that muzzle on target is incredibly important for follow-up shots. And like Clover said, when you talk about 100th or 1,000th of an inch is the difference between winning in second place or whatever. In the long range game, being able to track your projectile through the glass to see where your misses might be and make your adjustments, whether your holds are, and all of that is incredibly important. And if you can't control that recoil of your weapon and stay on that target longer and more consistently, then you're going to be kind of just firing into darkness because you don't really know what's going on. So the managing the recoil isn't necessarily important for me to be able to handle, quote unquote, that weapon. For me, it's much more about keeping the gases in a position in a way to keep your muzzle on target longer, more consistently for your next time follow-up shots, whether it's in competition or anything else. Keeping that muzzle on target longer for follow-up shots is where I will say the compensator / breaks, whatever you want to call them, are incredibly important.
Well, let's go down that road for a second, because there may be people out there that don't understand. You've kind of lumped them all together. I see that happen a lot. There's a very distinct difference in the job that a flash hider does as opposed to a muzzle brake, as opposed to a compensator.
Yeah, absolutely.
A flash hider
I would say that muzzle brakes and compensators are much more closer together than a flash hider.
Yeah, they're similar. The only real purpose or the primary purpose of a flash hider is to disrupt the fireball that comes out.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
It has the flash. It's that simple. Somewhat has the flash. Let's be honest. It don't get rid of it completely. Your muzzle brake, right, is more about recoil, right, than anything. And it can be very effective. I've got a Vice, VIAS, I think is how that's. It's not VICE. It's not like Miami Vice, but a Vice. They've been making brakes for years on my Ruger M77 300 Win Mag, and I'm gonna tell you what, that Vice brake cuts the recoil of that 300 Win Mag in half. It's a phenomenal job. And again, it's the way the holes, the ports are designed, blah blah blah. That determines what that device does. And so recoil on the muzzle brake, and then the compensator is the muzzle.
It's more flip, basically.
Rise issues.
But for me, I lump them in because of keeping muzzle on target. Now,
but they can do all three.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there are devices that do all three, and it's like, okay, so what do you call one that does all three? And it's like, when you get into those murky waters, it's like, I get it. But it's important to realize there is a difference, because if somebody thinks there's no difference and they're just buying something, and that's perfectly fine. If you're buying any type of muzzle device, because I'll do this sometimes just because it looks cool, right? Like my mini.
I've bought muzzle devices just for absolute looks.
Yeah,
100%.
So my Mini 14 has a flash hider on it that serves really no purpose. I mean, who gives a crap in a Mini 14 about the flash anyway? When I don't care, but it looks freaking cool. It looks freaking awesome on that rifle, and so I don't care what it does. I bought it because it looks cool, right? Yeah. So if you're doing it for that reason, for aesthetic purposes, who cares? But it's important to realize that there is a difference, because if you're out there and you're thinking, oh man, that looks cool, and you're wanting to stop, curb muzzle flip, or you're looking to curb recoil, or you're looking to do something like that, you need to understand that, okay, this looks really cool, but it says it's a flash hider. What are the odds it's actually going to do anything else other than that, right? And the same could hold true if you're looking for something that would curb that muzzle flip. If you're looking at something, you're like, oh man, this looks really good, blah, 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 but it says it's a muzzle brake. Well, it might not get the job done for you. So just be sure you pay attention to that.
Yep. Now, I will say this. Prepper
Chase mentions, suppressor.
Yeah, a call suppressor. Yeah. Now, Prepper did bring up, he says, I hate when people show up to the range with a muzzle brake and shoot next to me. All of these have their downfalls. Like, they have their downfalls. They're not only are they loud, but depending upon what you're shooting, if you've got a high powered rifle that's got a brake, and especially a competition brake, like I use an Area 419 brake on mine, and it's designed for competition. You don't want to be standing within 10 feet to the side of that muzzle brake. Those gases are definitely going to mess you up, or you're not going to want to be around them.
Yeah, so, that rifle I'm talking about, that 300 Win Mag, dude.
Oh,
I get it from Pepper. People around you on the range. I used to, anytime I wasn't shooting, here on the property around the house, the range I went to, I usually stopped by there. I had to make trips out of town pretty frequently back in the day, and I would drive right by there anyway. And so I would load stuff up, and it was usually during the day, during the week, and so very seldom was there anybody ever there, and I like that. But oh my God, if there ever was, like, they freaking hated you, and I always warned them. I'm like, look, this is fixing to get crazy, and they didn't believe me until I ripped one off, and they're like, holy crap.
Yeah, when I go to the range to shoot the rifle, one of two things. I try to go in times of the day. Well, and I've bet with work and all that, I usually are able to go at times of the day. There might not be anyone else at the rifle range. If there are people at the rifle range, I will try to go to the very end and say, just letting you know, guys, I'm gonna go to the very end, and I can't promise this, but it is what it is. But yeah, the getting hit by the gases are a real thing, especially with brakes and all that. But yeah,
oh, they'll tear a fish apart, I hear.
Never mind the projectile. Never mind the projectile going through the carcass. But yes,
you stick a dead fish on the end of the 308. Oh my goodness, man! The gases from the muzzle there.
The gases. It has nothing to do with that 308 projectile.
Yeah, nothing to do with that 160 something grain, 190 grain, whatever projectile. Yeah.
If you know out there, then we'll leave it at that. Now, She-Fire says, thank you both for the comments, and I learned something new about flash hiders.
There you go.
Yeah, I've got several that have flash hiders on. My little home defense truck gun, the AR9, it's got a flash hider on there, and it's fine. But yeah, for sure. And thank you, She-Fires, for that topic. Reading out there while we were talking about the topic, seeing other topics from other people have put out there. There's some good ones out there. We'll have to, keep those topics in mind for down the road when you get selected. But there were some good topics thrown out there. And once again, and thank you to Taurus as well for sponsoring the random topic portion of this and all that. Yep,
it's time to get out of here.
It is time to get out of here. An hour and 3 minutes. We started a little bit late because, I had no problem running this on Firefox, which is interesting after Chrome crashed. So I don't know. Maybe I just have to start doing this on Firefox. I haven't used Firefox in a long time, but we'll see. I don't know.
Try polishing the Chrome sometimes. That helps.
I did. Well, if it lets me back in, then I'll go in and clear history and all of that. Do you have a good, speaking of Chrome polishing, for those of your car people and all of that, or maybe like Chrome on the guns or whatever, do you have a favorite Chrome polisher?
Mother's.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, I've been a Mother's person for a while. I use it on a lot of gun stuff even. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Prepper says my range created a plywood dividers you can put so you don't get blasted. That's interesting. We'll see. Greg, unfortunately, I don't know why, but he decided to stay with us next week in Indianapolis. He'll be sharing a house with us, which I guarantee this, Clover, he'll never be the same after he leaves that week, will he?
No, he'll never agree to stay with us again.
100%. Obviously we won't have another podcast until after Indy. You want to talk real quick? We discussed this, but the 16th, which is the Sunday of Indy, NRAM, we'll both be driving home. So the regularly scheduled podcast of the 16th probably is not going to happen, and we probably decided maybe going the next week after that. and then go on twos from there. But yeah, we want to talk a little bit about that if you want.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to skip a week. So we'll be back with episode 4 on the 23rd. So looks like so, and
then go 2 weeks every other week after that. So
yeah, well, given unless something comes up, and we have to obviously skip a week because something has come up. But yeah, we got a whole year of this. So
got a whole. I mean, can you imagine? You're gonna put up with us? Oh my God!
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm having fun with it though. This has been a blast, and I enjoy this. This is what's up, Tundra? From Mexico, you nerds. That's right.
In the house.
In the or is he in the casa? Obviously, he's in Mexico. He's in the casa.
If he's in Mexico, he's very likely chatting from the baño.
Yeah, this is true. ¿Dónde está el baño?
Right.
The one thing that I learned from 2 years of Spanish is where is the bathroom?
We were talking about 90s movies earlier, so this goes great. The cheese is old and moldy.
I mean, yeah.
And if you know, you know, since we were talking 90s movies earlier. But
the
cheese is old and moldy.
Oh my God. It's just, I don't know why you said that, because we could stay on here for a while.
We're not going to, though.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Probably my favorite Pauly Shore movie. What was the other one that he goes to? That he's in college. What was the name of that? Son-in-Law.
Son-in-Law is where he was a resident advisor.
Yeah. That one and Encino Man were my two favorite Pauly Shore movies. That but I wasn't a big hater on Pauly Shore. He cracked me up. I mean, he was kind of. I enjoyed some Pauly Shore back in the day. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. There you go. My God, we could go on forever.
That was 89. Bill and Ted was.
What was? Was it really? Was it in the 80s still?
Yeah, Bill and Ted was
technically 89. Okay.
There was a lot of good movies, by the way, in 89. So there's a lot of
88 is also 88, 89, 90, 91. I mean,
there's a lot of those late 80s that you would think is 90s, but they're not.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Had fun as always, my man. We'll see you in about 10 days or 11 days or whatever that's going to be.
We're leaving a week from this Wednesday. So I told my wife we got to get a packing list on the whiteboard this week started, and we're going to leave out the Wednesday before, early Wednesday morning.
I'm leaving like before the sun comes up, probably on Thursday.
We're going to road trip a little bit, and then spend the night somewhere, and then go on into Indy from there. And looking forward.
Oh wow, thanks. He said we featured your top budget AR video on Saturday show. I appreciate that. Just put that out there. That's been the original was 4 years ago. It's kind of hard to believe that it's been 4 years that video came out. And I get people, oh, hey, what's updated? What's updated? Why isn't this on the list? Because I didn't exist in 2019, or whatever, or they were crappy back then. So we decided to go ahead and do an updated 23 version. Thanks for featuring that. I appreciate it. Go check that out. See if you guys like it or not.
Speaking of ARs, I dropped a video earlier at
I saw that
using the Bursa AR. So
I think Arminthia might be mad after your latest video dropped. Did she know that you were going to destroy your bed?
Yeah, we got a new one. That we
okay.
She was happy because that one was actually sitting in the hallway forever. Because
she was just glad you got it out of the house.
It's just been sitting blocking half the hallway because I had intentions of shooting, and finally drug it out and made it happen. But if you haven't checked that dropped earlier, and I was surprised. The premise is, can a memory foam matcher stop a bullet? And I'm not going to give it away, but I was surprised.
There you go. Podcast this week. You got a couple coming up?
I do, but I'm not. Let's see, who do we got? The Honest Truth this week, which is interesting. It's a creator. He's a creator. He's pro freedom. He's pro 2A. He's pro gun. But he talks a lot about more popular culture type stuff, and especially in in the black community and everything, which is really
Gotcha.
cool. He's got some really cool perspectives on a lot of different things. Just a really interesting guy. So, yeah, conned him into coming home, and then we got Toby with Cape Gunworks on Thursday,
Ah,
which we'll be talking about them more with the Rapid Fire Radio Network. So look for
yes, we
that,
will be.
more of that coming up.
Yeah, I put a post out, and some of you guys that were at Shot know. I don't know why I was included, but I was. There's about 20 or so, a little over 20 of us that were invited to be part of a new documentary from Jeff Hayes Films, and he's done some really cool stuff. It's called Firearms and Freedoms, and it's coming out in a little over a week. And so if you'd like to get it for free, it is going to cost. It is going to cost when it comes out. It's going to be like a 9 or 10 episode documentary. I think they said I'm in episode 5 or 6. I can't remember. I think it's like 5 or 6 was mine. There's like 20, like Tim Kennedy, Mike Sedini, KD from Kevin Dixie's in there. Sean Whalen's in there. There's a whole bunch of people that are involved, a little over 20 people. And each of us recorded for an hour during SHOT Show. They had a suite set up, and yeah, I know it sounds kind of like it's a different kind of movie, and it was not a casting couch, but it was really cool to be a part of it. And it's finally coming out, and it's going to be released here in about a little over a week. What I did is over on Instagram and in my community tab over in the Ghost Tactical channel, I put a link that you can sign up to get free access that you don't have to pay for. If you sign up through my link over there, you'll be able to get it when it comes out, and they'll email you when the episodes come out. They're going to release an episode a day for like 10 days or something like that. Really cool interviews. It's called Firearms and Freedoms. Like I said, Jeff Hayes Films production. Really, really honored and privileged to be part of that. And it's going to be an amazing documentary. A lot of great people that are included. But yeah, go check that. Go check out the link over on Instagram or on my YouTube. And the link is there in my community tab. I posted it and all that. And just kind of go and unlock the free. And when it does come out, it'll email you episode every day and all of that. But go see the list of people. It's a pretty impressive list. Like I said, why I was involved with that, I don't know. I think they must have thought I was somebody else when they asked me to be a part of it, and they were probably very disappointed when I got there and talked to them for an hour, and they realized that I was not who they thought I was. Probably, I don't know. Yeah. But it was fun. It was fun. Yep. You want to get out of here?
Put a fork in it, man. We're done.
Put a fork. Thank you so much for always supporting all of our projects over at Ghost Tactical, and with the patrons and the channel members. Same thing with supporting Clover and all of his projects with Patreon and channel members and all of that stuff. Thank you to everyone who's always watching our videos and commenting and sharing and show up for the live chats. Whether you're financially supporting, it doesn't matter. We do appreciate those, but just having you guys out here telling me to go live and having some people out there that are having great conversations in the chat and all of that stuff. It's always great. So thank you supporting me and Clover. Please go and support the sponsors, EAA and Taurus. Go support them as well. And if you know them, let them know that, thank them for supporting the Ghost and Clover podcast. Go see Chase or Cody or any of the people at EAA.
Very easy to drop a social media comment. Very easy.
Absolutely. Yep. We both put posts out there in the community tab and on Instagram about this podcast. Comment out there and tag EAA and Taurus and let them know thank you for supporting the podcast. We really do appreciate them. Follow them, support them as much as you can. You got anything going on that you want to finish up with?
Not really. Just tell everybody.
I'm gonna let you close it out.
Oh, real quick, just try to have a good week. And I say try because, hey, it's mind over matter most of the time, right? So hopefully everybody tries to have a good week and does have a good week. We'll see you around long before then, but if not, we'll be back on this one on the 23rd, it looks like.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys soon.